Welcome back to RGR. I'm Ryan. This is me going rogue with my buddy Dan Harms, who's doing all of the work these days. How are you, Dan?
I'm doing good, man. It's, the film does kind of it all kind of feels like it blends together sometimes, but I'm doing good with it. How you doing?
Yeah. Oh, it's there's a lot going on. I'm trying to build up the channel, folks. You all know that the memberships are coming and all that kind of stuff. I have some neat tweaks for you, so we'll see some of that. I'm going to back us out here so you can hopefully not see me as pixelated, and let's get who we are here. So later in this episode, folks, in a few minutes, you're going to see a film breakdown from Dan about a specific topic that is really going to be important as they try to get back to repeating. But what I want to talk about is this offensive line group is, I don't want to say under fire, but for a group that just won a Super Bowl, there's a whole lot of tweaking that a whole lot of people want to see go on. And I think it's pretty much everybody but Andy Reid. But how do you feel about it now after doing a little bit of work on it?
Yeah, when you look at the offensive line, I originally had really wanted to kind of change out all the interior guys and just switch LDT over actually probably stop playing him, put Wiley back at right guard, see where he was best, and look at Allegretti at center and give, just a basic free-for-all at left guard, since we don't know. That's been a in and out position all of last year. So it's got a bit of a interesting feel to it, especially for this coming year with all of the weird off season and even the addition of Lucas Niang, who they've said who's going to get an opportunity to play guard. I still think that it's probably going to be those original guys that have been there through this last offseason and have experience playing. And I've looked into LDT's 2018 prior to his injury, and it really, it made me even more confident that he was not fully healthy going into 2019. Even though he played the whole season, he definitely hadn't fully gotten his athleticism back, and that made for some really big, changes in his game. And when you look at him playing in 2018, he was definitely more athletic. He was a better technician in terms of hand fighting and his footwork and everything. So I think this is definitely his opportunity this year to actually come back and improve on that 2018 season that he was having.
Yeah, I agree with you. And things that stood out to me, the drive blocking, there's a short yardage issue that I think I'm probably more concerned about than most are, including Andy, but that certainly showed up. And I'll tell you, the one thing that always stood out to me in 2019 for him, again, backing up, the fact that we hear this sometimes, especially with lower body injuries, sometimes it takes a whole year and a season to get back. You try to watch him reach block in 2019, and it's not the same. And that's the number one thing that stood out to me.
Yeah, and I currently have my review of LDT from 2018 up on Arrowhead Guys right now. I look at that, like I said, a little bit, and I give it a little bit of a spin as to what we could look for in 2020, because like you said, I don't think that he was able to get back to that point. And I think he was having a really good 2018, and his ability in those short yardage areas, like you mentioned, was it was a lot better, especially in the early parts of that season. I actually have an example of that up on the article itself, showing him driving the tackle out of the hole completely and allowing Hunt to walk through into the end zone. So it's definitely an area where I think that, especially because we're looking at his 2020 season as more of a prove-it year, they essentially voided off those ends of his years of his contract and saying, look, 2020 is the year for you, either continue on with those years for this contract, or you're going to try to make a free agent signing for yourself. So it's going to be up to him to figure out if that leg is fully healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, and I have a tendency to think so. It's been really low impact what he's been able to do because of the COVID-19 thing. And folks, I hope you're all doing well and safe and being cautious. I know everybody wants to get out. I want to get out of the house. Yeah. I see more deer than people on an average week, but just take it easy.
Squirrels for me.
Squirrels, okay. But the thing for me is it's not just LDT. Like, I hope that because he hasn't had to work out as hard, you get that recuperation a little bit more, which I think hopefully if he's not able to gain or sustain his weight a little bit, he comes in a little bit lighter. I like that. I'm not worried about that at all. I think it might help him athletically. But the big thing is, if he can get back to where he was, that helps the center, no matter who it is, but particularly if it's Ryder. And I think that's really key for them having a better inside run game, especially with little Clyde. That's what I'm going to call him for right this minute, because he does well pushing the pocket when he can't have linebackers on a beat on him, and that comes from running behind those interior three.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that that'll improve the center, because when we brought Stefan Wisniewski in at left guard last year, you noticed a little bit of improvement in Austin Ryder, and that's because of the guy that's got experience and he's able to help block and set up things properly at the left guard spot. So it's going to be difficult for Ryder to improve, because I think he was an undrafted free agent, or he was the 7th round draft pick from Washington. So he's already had a lot of area that needed to come up in his game to get to being a starter, and getting some guys with experience. That's why I think that even though we don't know what Martinez Rankin's going to be like, he's probably not going to start the season healthy from everything that I've heard from Matt Derrick and that kind of thing. So it's probably going to be a battle between Wiley and Allegretti for left guard, and Ryder and Allegretti for center. And just the experience factor, I think, is going to lend toward Wiley playing along with Ryder. And I'm hoping that continuity, at least a little bit, helps them going forward next year.
Yeah, I do too. And I like the way that you put that, because it's two young guys battling it. Now, Wiley doesn't have that much experience either. So we can't say that he's like a stalwart. But I'll give you this dark horse too. Darrell Williams, I like the way that he plays. And I know he's a UDFA.
Exactly.
But somebody makes it every season, so
it
might as well be him, right?
Oh yeah, I agree. And these UDFAs that they brought in was one of the top classes in this year. And it's going to be hard for him to see the field anyway, and especially just because of the way the offseason is. But if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be him to make this roster. And I'm not giving up hope that Allegretti can start at center, because I think that he still has that edge that we're looking for in a center. Mitch Morse had it. He was he was more athletic than Ryder is, and he still had that edge to him. And I know that Allegretti isn't the most athletic guy, but he's got that edge, and he's going to move guys out of the A gap pretty routinely. So I'm hoping to see him start.
See, my only problem with that is I like Allegretti better at guard. I don't think he plays with a low enough pad level to get under people there. That's what Morse, I thought his transformation from center, from tackle all the way into center, was that he lowered his play level. And I thought that was key for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be what I would assume they're teaching him. I know Andy Heck does a lot of work with his hips, and what he teaches it is keeping your hips lower, not necessarily your pad level. So you want to get your hands inside, keep those hips low, and drive. So I think that's something he can do, but he's a big guy, so I think it will be a little bit more difficult for him. But getting him in this offensive line is one of those demeanors I think that they kind of need at this point.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, because back in the day, when I was training college athletes, we used to measure linemen to their hip, to the point of their hip bone, because that was the determining value of how low they could play, is the length of their legs. It's not if you have a long torso, that's okay. You can still get your butt down and get underneath people, but it makes things harder. So
got those tree trunks,
right? So I think this is a good spot, folks. We're going to jump over and break down the film. Dan's going to walk you through that here in a minute. If you're not subscribed, this is a great time to do it. Hit that bell notification. Leave your comment below and leave a thumbs up if you like this one. We'll be back with you next week, but check out this breakdown.
All right, we're going to continue on with some more offensive line breakdowns here, and this is just going to be a basic breakdown of what's called empty formation responsibilities for an offensive line. And the reason it's going to be empty is because Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelce, although they are in line in the formation, they're going to be running routes. Kareem Hunt's going off to the flat, and Kelce is going to release to the middle of the field almost immediately. So that means that there's no help from anywhere else, and the offensive line has to account for all of the rushers or blitzers on any given play in this situation. And we're going to start quickly with just Tyreek Hill is going to come across the formation over from his right to the left, and that's going to bring Artie Burns with him. And then we have what looks like the linebacker coming over as in a shift as well, except he's going to go right back to his spot. And this is going to should be an indication of the offensive line, and it's something Mahomes should have identified right off the bat, because this guy has no responsibility on this side of the football. There's no tight end, there's no running back on this side. He's just there, and that's an indication to the offensive line that he could be a blitzer, and they have to account for that. Mahomes did not signal him out, and the quarterback always has the last say on things like that. So he didn't see him. I don't think he expected him to blitz, and the Steelers are showing 5 rushers at this current point, and that would be okay for 5-on-5. But if this guy ends up coming, then that's where the empty responsibilities come in. And we're gonna just go ahead and fast forward a little bit and show right about when this guy starts to blitz, and Mahomes is now a little bit more advanced in this department. So right here at this very moment, Schwartz has his eye on the linebacker with his peripherals on TJ Watt here. But when it comes to empty formation responsibilities, it's always going to be the guy with the straightest, taking the man with the straightest line to the quarterback. So inside, anyone that has inside. So this guy's going to come here. He's going to come here. This line here, here, and then that's how this is going to shift inwards, and all the offensive linemen need to be responsible for their inside gaps, the closest or the closest route to the quarterback. And so we're going to see this happen, and this is exactly what happens. TJ Watt's going to come free, be a free blitzer on the end here, and someone is going to be open. The Steelers are bringing 6, so someone should be open immediately. And if we actually look closely at 21 and 34, with Kareem Hunt out to the flat, that leaves Kelce open immediately. This should be a one hot read, and he's throwing the football here. And unfortunately, he's still looking back over here, and TJ Watt's going to get there a little too quickly, and then he's going to see Kelce a little bit too late, and that throw is going to be thrown off just a bit, enough to force an incompletion. And those empty responsibilities are something I'm looking at, because I think that with the addition of Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year, we're going to see much more empty responsibility for the offensive line, assuming a increase in development in the interior offensive line. And that's one of the reasons we saw the Chiefs come out in a lot of more empty formations and using guys without blocking tight ends, or having the running back help in 2018, because they had a bit better of an interior offensive line, and they understood their responsibilities just a little bit better. This should have been a touchdown for Patrick Mahomes on this throw. He should have ID'd this immediately to Travis Kelce, but it happens. And going forward, I think that with the step forward in that offensive line, we're going to see more of those empty formations, and that's definitely something to look forward to in this next 2020 season.